When you guys know, every time I need to go live, my equipment just starts failing all over the place. I'm not sure. I know that there's a presser. If you guys give me just a few moments, I'm going to try to get it up. My computer my whole entire system just completely crashed on me. So I don't know what the hell's going on. If somebody can send me the link, that would be great. I know Guidance sent it to me. I'm going to try to see if this works. It didn't work the first time. So I don't even know if we're going to have a presser here. So just give me a second. There it is.
The future of your business is here. With Wix, you get advanced AI capabilities for more customization,
Somebody
more
tell
time,
me whether they
and
can
more
hear that
growth.
or not. Can somebody let me know whether we have volume or not, please, on the video? Okay, perfect. Thank you. And it's on the video, right? Okay. The mom looks absolutely just devastated. You can see it all over her face. She's just disgusted. I don't even know.
Okay, am I ready now?
All right, guys, here we go. Yes, this is live, guys. This is live right now.
Good afternoon. I want to thank everyone for coming out today. With everything that's gone on in the past few days, we've been reached out to and we've spoken with Dave with the United Cajun Navy. We feel that we need the extra resources to come in and help us as we try to get more organized for our family and see if we can't bring some more clues to light. We're very grateful for everyone that's done everything so far. We ask that you continue. We ask that you work and help with us to become more organized, because we don't want individuals out there alone without us knowing, so that we want to make sure everybody's careful. Safety is the number one priority. We appreciate,
Stepfather,
more than you'll ever know, the outpouring that we've received from the community, from the press, and everyone else involved. Our goal is still to bring Riley home. We feel that is still a very pliable goal. We feel like Dave and his team and the volunteers that he knows are very skilled and will help bring this for us. This time, I'm going to turn it over to Dave and let him kind of bring some information to light. If we have questions at the end, we'll be more than happy to
look at that mama.
address,
Good Lord, that's just making me.
We have a little bit of courtesy for what we're going through right now, and give us just a few questions, and we'll again meet as we have more information. Okay. Thank you, Dave.
My name is David Flagg. For those who don't have the spelling, last name is F like Foxtrot, Lagg. And I am the National Director of Operations for the United Cajun Navy. Those of you who may not know, people who in the audience that may not know, we are a disaster response organization. We respond to natural disasters, all over the country. We're formed during Hurricane Katrina when New Orleans was flooded so badly. We had just a bunch of good old boys that had boats and took it upon themselves to go out into the waters of New Orleans and start rescuing people, taking them supplies, et cetera, et cetera. Fast forward to today, our organization has been to almost every major natural disaster in this country. to include Hurricane Michael, Hurricane Ian, the Texas wildfires. We have people there now. The fires in Maui. So that's kind of an overview, brief overview of what we do. We also obviously get involved in missing persons cases. We do search and rescue and focus on providing supplies of whatever nature the people might need them, food, clothing, etc. I was to touch on the reason that we're here today. We were contacted by Riley's family and asked to step up and provide some more resources to this search activity. And we have been pretty much involved from the very first day that we heard about it, which I believe was on Monday, would have been the 10th, 11th, whatever day that was. We've had an airboat here on the river. We've had people involved behind the scenes and following this and understanding what's been happening here with regard to the search efforts of individuals. We felt that it was probably a real good idea for us to step in and organize a structured and organized search activity for this. We also have today we have a hovercraft coming in and a pilot to run that craft. If he gets here early enough, we will be on the river today. And if not, we'll start early tomorrow morning and spend a good bit of time on the river here, assisting in that search. We had an airboat here, and that individual will be returning, I believe, Friday, possibly Saturday. I would reiterate what Riley's father said. Our main focus, obviously, is to find Riley. Our secondary focus is to ensure the safety of the people who are out here searching. If we have folks just out on their own on these very steep and treacherous terrain on the riverbank and other treacherous aspects of this search, we don't know. We don't know what's going on with you. It's not safe. It's real dangerous. So I would encourage any volunteers who have been here and are searching to please come under the umbrella of the United Cajun Navy search. We will be putting together a structured and organized ground search at some point in the near future. I don't have the specific information on that yet, but I will make that information known once I have it. If you do intend to come out and search with us or to continue to search on your own, there are some safety aspects that you need to know. Number one, you need to be wearing some sturdy shoes. You need to have some heavy gloves on and some nitrile or rubber gloves as well. There's a lot of garbage and debris and needles and bodily fluids of one kind or another that are on these riverbanks that you really don't want to be exposed to. So that's what I would ask of you, just for your own safety. And I would also reiterate what Riley's father said. If you all do have questions for the family, please be very, very sensitive about the nature of this incident. As you can imagine, those of you who have children or don't have children, I guess the best advice I could give would be don't ask a question of the family that you would not want to be asked yourself.
Little Texan, I'll ask you to please reach out to law enforcement with that information.
Just one thing that I wonder, for you and for the family, the police have been steadfast for at least several days in saying that they don't suspect any foul play. Have you seen the evidence to that?
At this point, there is no evidence that I'm aware of that would indicate foul play. Y'all know how it goes on Facebook and social media. There's been a lot of chatter on there about the fact that Riley's debit card was found on the riverbank, and that is prima facie evidence.
I don't think it's the whole situation.
Something to that nature there. I don't agree with that. Obviously, I'm not the investigator. We have a couple of representatives from MMPD here, and I'm sure they have something to say about it. But I would very seriously, at this point, doubt that there's been any criminal activity.
We're an intern with WSMV
nutshell, you guys are obviously asking for more people to come in and help at this point. Are you satisfied with the job Metro Police have done, and what are you hoping that this additional volunteer effort will do to help you?
Yes, we feel like they've handled it well. We know that there is an excessive amount of information coming into them that they're having to dissect. You know, it's hard as a parent, as we are now 10, 11, 12 days into this, and we're trying to, find Riley, come up with, an outcome here. And so, yes, as the days drag on, we are frustrated. We know they're doing their job. We've seen what they've got,
We know they're doing things that we haven't been informed about. That's probably with any investigation like this. There's details that they're not going to share with us that we're sure they're working on too. We don't know what all for sure exactly what they've done as far as searches goes. We don't know some of the information, but that's not to say they haven't done it.
Exactly. And, Dave is kind of an extra resource for us, a point of contact with his foundation, his group, to be able to help us so that we can focus and make sure that we're doing everything as best as possible. It's been hard being from out of town, being from 6.5 hours away, to put a structured program together when you don't know
Exactly,
everywhere
Haley.
that you're at. You don't know
Exactly
the lay of the land as well. You don't have your family and your resources that are in your hometown to be able to help guide you and lean on to build a organized search. And that has bothered us, and Dave is our answer.
Kind of rewinding a little bit, I know that y'all saw the bar footage for the first time potentially. Is there anything significant there that you feel comfortable sharing at this time?
The only thing really that we have seen with our own eyes is in the bar footage would be Riley and his friend going down the stairs just before he exited the bar. His friend turns around and goes back up the stairs.
So he didn't
We're
walk
not
him home.
focusing on a lot of the stuff that happened earlier. We're still pushing forward, and we're trying to figure out where he's at now.
What do you anticipate police will release data from?
1-800-TBI find or Crime Stoppers.
I'm not able to comment on that at this point. I know that they're still digging through information, so hopefully they'll be able to provide information here, as we move forward. We know that Riley was possibly texting and communicating with multiple people. Again, we don't know the exact people. We don't know the exact timeline, or who the last person was.
Anything right now would kind of be speculation on our part.
Yeah.
Exactly what that was.
There you go.
No need to muddy the water. So I'm sure the detectives, as information becomes available that is pertinent like that, they will provide to us, and we will share as we can.
And again, we have a couple representatives from the police department here, and that may be a question that you could ask them. Before they come up, anybody else have questions for the family before I interrupt?
I do. Michelle, the last time you and I spoke, you had told me he was here with 50 of his fraternity brothers. Not one of them left the bar to go with him. I know you were close out with some of his friends as well. What have those conversations been like since?
With the boys. I mean, they're heartbroken also. I mean, he's their best friend. And
Oh my gosh.
we love these boys like our own. And it's just as hard on them as it is on us.
Oh,
And right
that
now,
pain.
we really are focusing on
bringing Riley home.
his last point.
He's my best friend.
Oh.
Everything.
Is that it?
Oh.
Can you tell me how many people are a part of your group who are actually searching, and are there different times that you're searching?
So excuse me. we are an all volunteer organization. So people who work with us, volunteer with us, have jobs, have families. And so there's at any given time, that number is going to fluctuate. You know, sometimes it might be 2 people and sometimes it might be 200 people. At this point, I am the only boots on the ground for the United Cajun Navy, and that is going to change here very shortly. We're going to get as many people who are associated with our organization involved in this search. The ground search is what I'm referring to. We have a couple representatives from MMPD who'd like to speak with you, but before they do, there's one thing I do want to say. And if I hurt somebody's feelings out there, oh well. I'm a retired Pennsylvania State Trooper. There has been a lot of chatter on social media about the police are or are not handling this investigation properly. They should have done this. They should have done that. If you're not a trained police officer, your speculation is just that, just speculation. I've been in constant contact with Detective Chandler, and I know that they have been making every effort that they can to bring this investigation, this search to a close. So please, you folks out there on social media, think real hard about what you're going to post before you post it. And that goes as well for posts about the family and about this investigation. You know, the family doesn't really need to see posts on social media that say, well, maybe there's a serial killer out there and that's where he chunked them in the water. That's not cool. Anybody got a question for me? Yes, ma'am. Give me the first part of that again. I missed it. Yes, ma'am. Well, like I said, we have 2 boats coming, and that's going to be obviously our water search. This terrain presents a very, very difficult challenge for a ground search. I'm sure y'all have seen on TV that, when there's a field or a wooded area that you have a line of people 2-3 feet apart, everybody just walking through. This is not going to be that. Also, the terrain is going to be very difficult to use any sort of tracking dog. Again, just because it's going to be very difficult to walk. So my goal, and part of the reason that I came down here early today, is so I could get my eyes on the terrain. I hadn't seen it yet, and formulate a plan for that. The plan right now is very loose and informal. We want all the volunteers to meet up with me before we go out. And probably about the only way that really and effectively be able to do this is put people in 2s and 3s, potentially 4s. We are working on getting some supplies, ropes, etc., that are going to enable these people to safely traverse this terrain. If there's anybody out there who would like to contribute to that effort, please feel free to go on our website, thank you, which is unitedcajunnavy.org. And there's a donate button. You can feel free to donate there. But that's my next step, is to get the supplies and the equipment that's needed to be able to conduct this search safely. And that's, as far as the plan goes, that's all we have right now. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yeah. Yes and yes to your questions. At this point, we're going to focus on the riverbank area and the water, because that appears to be the last place where Riley was seen. We have the last video footage that we have of him, I believe, is from this camera. Is that right? From this camera on this building here, and the video footage from surveillance cameras all around the area do not indicate that he ever came up this way or up the steps by the courthouse or anything of that nature there. The last video is of him going underneath this bridge right here, and that's pretty much it. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't do some canvassing of the homeless encampments and the downtown area where there may be other homeless people, simply to see if we can pull out any other information. Speaking of which, if there is anybody out there that has any information about this, please step forward and get in touch with me. You can reach out to me on our Facebook page, which is simply United Cajun Navy on Facebook. If you are scared or concerned about the nature of your information, come and get hold of me anyway. All right. Our main goal here is to bring Riley home.
Is there like an email that potential volunteers for this help, or should they just contact message you on Facebook? Or
Yes, you can message us on Facebook, and our email address is info@unitedcajunnavy.org, and that's United Cajun is CAJUNNAVY, UnitedCajunNavy.org. Anybody else? Gentlemen?
Oh,
I'm
that's
Detective
sweet.
Anthony Chandler. This is Sergeant Bob Nilsson. We're with the Homicide Cold Case Unit for Metro Nashville Police, and we've been heading up the investigation into Riley's disappearance. As Mr. Flagg said, we've been in contact with him since the very beginning, coordinating what we could as far as with the family's active participation in locating Riley. That has been, and to this day remains, the top priority. There has not been any evidence that has come forward to change this to an ongoing criminal investigation at this time. Regardless of what else has been put out there, there are several leads that we are following up with on a constant basis and an influx of information that is coming forward at all times. We are going through every single piece of that information, but the priority remains locating Riley.
As he said, I'm Sergeant Nielsen. I gave a briefing to our chain of command all the way up to the Chief Drake yesterday. They're well aware of where we are with the investigation at this point, as well as the resources. We do have our boat going back in the water this afternoon, along with members of the Urban Search and Rescue team that will be combing the area, researching the area.
Yes.
It's been mentioned already today, and it's also been asked, things like,
They
why
all
was that
returned,
card found?
except
Why
him.
didn't we find it? As Mr. Flagg pointed out, there's a lot of variables in these investigations, and if you've not been skilled or trained or experienced in these investigations, you don't understand a lot of these things. As Don Aaron put out the other day, when we start a missing person investigation, we're looking for a person. We're looking for a body. We're not looking for small pieces of evidence. Can we miss some things? Sure. But our primary goal is to find Mr. Strain and bring him home safely. Think of it like a large crime scene. A lot of times you have to deal with the victims first before you can go back and start looking for those precise pieces of evidence. Okay, that's kind of our focus here. We're looking for Mr. Strain, then we go back and look again. And because these two ladies over here were kind enough to volunteer their time and helped us by finding that, now we can do a more refined search with our Urban Search and Rescue, which is what they're going to be doing this afternoon. And as Mr. Flagg said, with a lot of the volunteers, if you're coming down to volunteer, understand it is very treacherous terrain. That's why we're using Urban Search and Rescue and not just anyone on the street, because our people are trained, they're equipped, they have everything that they need to conduct these searches. You won't even see a patrol officer go to some of these areas that are more treacherous. Why? Because they don't have the rappelling equipment and things of that nature. So we're utilizing all the resources we can. We've also going to be reaching out to Office of Emergency Management. They've been helping us quite a bit. Over the weekend, they've been back out with a boat, divers, cadaver dogs. They run sonar. Our boat has sonar. It's the same stuff. People have asked about TBI. It's the same resources they have. So there's not been a need for us to get additional assistance from these other agencies. However, like Mr. Flagg, Cajun Navy, they have that experience. They want to volunteer their time. They've been very gracious in talking with us, saying they're going to help us out. Not a problem at all. But again, if you have a structured organization like United Cajun Navy, you have the safety protocols in place. You have the equipment and the resources to utilize to conduct that search, as well as to make certain everybody's safe doing that. We're going to continue to search. We're still filtering all the Crime Stoppers tips, as Detective Chandler said. I cannot stress enough the volume of information we've gotten. We've had people get frustrated with us because they'll call us, say, on a Monday, and they don't know why we haven't got back to them on Monday. And I've had to explain to them, we have to weigh every piece of evidence we get, or information rather, evenly. We can't just jump to the top, because quite honestly, there's a lot of tips that we're getting that are not tips. They mean well, but they're not tips. So we have to prioritize what's actually providing information. And some of the other things I have my detectives doing today is re-canvassing the area for video, And while we don't think Riley may have been in any of these homeless camps away from this area, those are areas that we're going to be working on this afternoon ourselves. In regards to, we've had questions about some of the behind the scenes things we're doing, search warrants, that kind of thing. Please understand it's an open investigation. We cannot share that information with the public because it's an open investigation. It can, if it were to turn into a criminal investigation, well, obviously now we're negatively impacting that situation. So please understand, if you call us and you're asking us questions, there may be some things we cannot answer, and it's to maintain the integrity of the investigation, as well as any potential evidence should there be a criminal component to it. I would also ask, as Mr. Flagg and everybody has, if you have questions for the family, you want to help the family, that's great. But please also respect their privacy. These kinds of incidents that happen, sometimes people with the best of intentions don't know the best way to approach people, and it can cause more stress for the family. So please be mindful of that.
One of the other things I wanted to make sure everybody understood, all the businesses and everybody we have asked for assistance as far as video or any other information, we have had absolute cooperation from everybody involved. There has never been a time where anyone has had any issue in giving us any other information. To go along with what Mr. Flagg said, I know earlier I said this is not a criminal investigation this time. Should we uncover something that would change that, it's important that we go through one centralized source to where we know we can then change the manner in which we're searching and can start to conduct that in the proper manner. So if you do want to volunteer, we welcome all eyes to come help try to find Riley. But if we stumble across something to where we need to change the direction of the investigation, it is important that it's through one coordinated source and they're able to get the information back to us so we can adjust accordingly.
I think the only thing I would like to add before we open up the questions is one of the concerns people have called in multiple times about is that he was, Riley was being chased, he was being followed. We have seen no evidence of that.
I haven't seen any evidence of that.
Times. And that is the reason why we released that body camera footage, because that officer had an interaction with him. And we've talked to other people that have indicated to us there was no injuries on Mr. Strain when they observed him. And there was no indication that he was running from anything or he was in fear. There's been a lot of misconceptions, a lot of misinformation out there. And we're putting out everything we can to dispel all of those misconceptions. We're happy to answer those questions. But again, people are taking what has already been put out, what the media's put out, and then putting their spin on it, calling back with Crime Stoppers tips that are not actually tips. They're their theory on what happened.
Yeah.
We love people calling in and helping us, but
we talk about that on this channel
that we can follow up on. So please understand too, when you don't see us, like my detectives out in the field constantly, it's because we're trying to prioritize those tips that we're getting to find what's actually useful information that we can follow up on. Because sometimes we get tips that we can't follow up on. It's just a statement somebody's making. So with that, you got a question, ma'am?
Yes, sir. So the credit card being discovered, separated from wherever Riley is, and potentially separated from his wallet. Some would say that could potentially go either way. Sure, maybe it just fell out and he didn't even realize, or maybe it was forcefully removed. So how do you decide which it is and which side to lean on, whether missing person versus criminal? There's a lot of folks
Amen.
that could certainly indicate, or lay people would say, that could certainly indicate criminal activity.
Once we recovered the card, it was secured and processed properly to where it can be examined as far as going into a criminal matter at a later time if it's so needed.
How does the United Cajun Navy fit into MNPD's command structure?
We pretty much allow our people with the emergency contingency section and USAR to coordinate with them because, we do cold case investigations. We don't handle that part. So our job is typically to get them in touch with them and let them coordinate between the two because they have the knowledge and expertise. They know how to communicate with one another and schedule with each other what they're going to do, how they're going to do it. It would be kind of a moot point for us to step in the middle of that other than to act as a liaison to get them in contact with one another.
Get them in touch with them?
With one part of our department that handles like the urban search and rescue and the boat searches and everything, we get that unit in contact with Mr. Flagg.
So they're coordinating their efforts.
That's what we plan on because our resources are coming back out this afternoon, and that's kind of our goal is with Mr. Flagg here today is get him in touch with the supervisors over in that unit so they can make that coordination.
And then at what point would your office decide to no longer continue the investigation?
Until we have no other actionable leads. But because we work cold case, we continue working it until we just have nothing. And as new information comes in, we continue to pick it right back up and go right back to it. This is not going away. This is not going away anytime soon. And I have detectives that work cold case homicides that are
Cold case homicides. Interesting.
On those. In fact, one of my detectives has been able to close 2 of them last year. So I say that to say, this isn't going away. We keep going until we have absolutely nothing, no new tips, no traces of anything to follow up on. But until that happens, we're still going to be out here doing everything.
How would you describe the actionable leads in front of MSP right now?
In what regard?
You said we're going to keep going until we have no action.
Meaning, if somebody calls in with a theory, okay, that's one thing. But unless they're giving us information like a name, a location where they saw a suspicious person, thought they saw a piece of an item that belonged to Riley, that doesn't help us. So we have to filter through to look for the things they're saying. Hey, around this time I saw John Doe at this location. He might have been wearing a similar shirt, or maybe he was talking to Riley. That's actionable. That's something we can follow up on. We can look for video cameras in the area. But when they just say, I just saw a homeless guy in the area, that doesn't help us because that's nothing we can follow up on. Does that help?
So enough of those actionable leads are still coming in right
Yes,
now?
sir. Yes.
Yes. That have joined us and those that
Actually,
have
that's why we
not
really come
today.
through.
One of
Following up on
the
more.
13 lost at Abbey Gate was from my community in
I don't know
Missouri,
what this is.
Lance Corporal Jared.
I don't know if they were meaning to.
If you
Sorry, guys. I don't know what that was all about. Oh, actually, I think I lost
Patrice
it.
Wicks for
I think I lost it. Hold on a second. Let me get that back up. Something weird happened. I don't know what the hell that was, but we're probably going to have to watch another commercial. Sorry, guys. Give me just a second. It's going to be a 13 seconds. I don't know what that noise was on live. Okay. Sorry about that.
Somebody could have said, hey, man, you need some help. Are you okay? Especially once you see somebody falling.
You're 100% correct. And unfortunately, that is the state of our society.
I know everybody's
today.
scared to help somebody.
And I agree with you 100%. Nashville population, if you see something, say something or do something.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Because I watched that and I'm like, nobody did anything to say, hey, man, this guy shouldn't be out walking around.
Right.
So,
any other questions?
God bless you guys.
Could you
All right?
say your name and spell it one more time in your title?
I'm Detective Anthony Chandler, Chandler.
I'm Sergeant Robert Nielsen, Nielsen.
Oh, thank you, Baby Yoda. God bless you.
You had a question, sir?
Could you all just go over again what it is that's making you say that there's no sign of foul play in this not being a criminal investigation at this time? Is it a lack of evidence to the contrary, or do you have other information that suggests that?
Well, right now, it's a lack of any evidence of a crime being committed. A lot of people have come up to us with various items claiming that it's indicative of it. And please understand, as a supervisor, I've been working homicides for 10 years. He's been working for a long time as a detective. And we're skilled in criminal investigations. What, evidence can be different possibilities, whether physical evidence, whether it's digital evidence or whatever. And if we don't have anything like we don't at this point that indicates that there's any indication of foul play, then if we go down that rabbit hole, then we're wasting resources and time from possibly looking for him, because now we're looking for evidence of a crime. And while we're open to the possibility it could be a crime, I mean, obviously there's always that possibility, right? But we haven't seen anything. And just because his bank card was found there, just because somebody heard something, until we have more to shore that up, we can't say that a crime occurred. So as soon as we have anything, if it exists, that indicates a crime occurred, assault or whatever the case may be, we immediately follow up on that. But we have to have evidence or probable cause, and a lot of people don't understand what probable cause is, but we have to have probable cause of crime to even occur. So that's why it's easy to jump to those conclusions, but that's where we have to tell people, this is why we don't do things at an accelerated rate. We have to do things methodically, like Mr. Flagg and his team, they do methodical searches, right? Our urban search and rescue, they do methodical searches, because if we just jump to conclusions every single time, we could actually miss more evidence whether there was a crime or not, but still evidence of where he'd been or what happened to him. If we're just running all over the place going, oh, what crime happened, but now we're not looking over here anymore. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Has there been any other evidence connected to Mr. Strain since Sunday?
Not that I'm aware.
In which regard?
As far as physical evidence, is that the only?
No, outside the debit card,
sir.
that's the only physical evidence we have right now.
Oh, and somebody did find a phone, but I just want to put out there, it is not a phone that he had. He had an Apple phone. This was a Google Android phone. So I know that that's been a question that's come up as well. I just want to go ahead and clarify that.
Sorry, you said someone found a phone.
Yes, ma'am. They found it in the vicinity. They brought it to us immediately while we were out there Sunday. We did collect it just because we don't know who it belongs to. Don't know if it is in relation to this case. But right now, it's not his phone. We know that because we know he had an Apple phone, Apple Watch. This was an Android device.
Do you know when the last transaction was traced back to on that neighborhood?
They were all on Broadway.
Given that there are so many search areas now, search groups, that are now participating in this effort, are you positive? How positive are you that Riley is still in this vicinity?
Well, we're not, but we're searching everywhere. Last Friday, we got a call that they thought they saw him up towards the Titans practice field somewhere, and we went out there and looked. So we're not just limited to here, but when we have somebody go missing, you have to start with the last place they were seen. You can't be that you know for a fact that they were seen. You can't just go, well, I thought I saw him over here, because a lot of people think that the video cameras everywhere catches everything, and they don't. We have people claiming there's video across the river, but some of them don't reach this riverbank. So if we start searching over there, but we don't know he was over there, but we know he was on this side of the river, this is going to do us more good, because that's going to allow people that are trained in doing searches to have a starting point and have more tangible things to look at, as opposed to just going around and speculating which areas he could be. Obviously, if we have something that leads us further down, we will. But right now, that's why the areas that they're focusing on is this immediate area, because we know for a fact that was his last known point of contact with anyone.
We know Riley was asked to leave the bar around 9:35. We've seen the subsequent videos, but can you give us a timeline of where he was at on Broadway or other places in the city prior to his Brian's bar?
Prior to that is he was here with his friends enjoying a night on Broadway. Our focus begins when he leaves from that location, and then he starts going up 3rd Avenue to Church Street and proceeds over to the Gay Street corridor right below us, because that's where he went missing.
But there was a big question on whether or not he was overserved on Broadway. This Brian's bar came out and said he had one drink. Were there other bars that he was at that you guys are looking into on whether or not he was overserved?
We're pulling video surveillance from every location that we're aware that he was at. As far as this time right now, like I said, our focus is on locating Riley. Anything subsequent from that will be followed up once we've concluded that part.
And unfortunately, we're going to have to kind of end it there for us. We have some follow-ups we have to do right now, but our PIO office will definitely be putting out more information as we get it. Family, we've been in contact with them and updating them as soon as we can. So appreciate your time. And if you have any other questions in the meantime for our department, please focus them to our PIO for today. Thank you. No problem. Thank you, Mr. Fly.
Okay, so there's the press conference. Mom is absolutely distraught.
So
that is
just
a mom.
real quick, I wanted to tag on to a question that was asked about the Cajun Navy's relationship with MNPD, and it's a cooperative relationship. We're not under their command. They're not under our command. However, we do defer to them first. We don't take any significant actions without checking with Detective Chandler first. Got 2 young ladies here who have been doing some extensive searching. These are the young ladies that found Riley's debit card. We're not going to use names. We're going to just let them be anonymous. But they have some suggestions and some information for other potential searchers.
I guess hi. I guess the most important thing that we want to make sure everybody knows when you are joining us to search is I have layers under these jeans. I have boots. We have masks because when you are moving stuff, there is stuff flying everywhere. You have to have gloves with grips. There will be rocks falling, so you have to be very careful. If you want to wear a helmet, that's something we really might suggest. We haven't done it. It's very difficult to go down this embankment, but it's extremely possible, especially if you're able. You're just gonna have to be very careful with your footing. And we really, really recommend gripped gloves because we've been using that to grab onto branches to either bring ourselves back up or to move around. Once you get down there, you are going to be walking across the river on rocks, and they are wobbly. And as we said, there's other rocks that will be falling down. Be very, very careful and do not go alone. I did not go until she came with me because we knew that it would be very dangerous if something happened. Nobody would be able to find me then. It's very, very hard to actually hear each other down there too. Even if we're just like 15, 20 feet away, I can yell to her and it's hard to hear. I guess if you guys have any questions, I can answer it, but that's about all I have to say at the moment. Perfect.
Thank you, ladies.
Yes.
All right, that's, I think, pretty much all we have, unless there are other questions. Okay, once again, yes, sir.
Do you know, for the volunteer purposes, how much of the area has been grid searched? Grid searched by law enforcement from the standpoint of where the ID was found. So maybe everybody's not duplicating, going down the same embankment. Do you know if that's been done?
I don't know if MMPD has done a grid search. To my knowledge, none of the volunteers have done that. And it's, again, going to be very, very challenging to do any kind of a grid search in that terrain. We are going to try to do something that approaches a grid search, but all I can tell you is going to be is the best we can do. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
What is the best way to sign up to search for you guys?
I would go to www.unitedcajunnavy.org or send an email to info@unitedcajunnavy.org. That comes, both of those come to me. All right. Anything else? All right. Once again, I just want to thank everybody, the whole community, the online community, all the volunteer searchers that have been involved in this. You know, you folks are going to be the ones potentially that break this case open. So keep on doing what you're doing. Keep your eyes open. Keep your ears open. If you see something, say something. And again, once we figure out when we're going to do this organized search, we will let the media outlets know, and they can push that information out for us. All right? Okay. Thanks again.
All right. So we got a little more information than we had before. I'm not sure, you know, how I feel about certain things. It seems like, you know, and I do believe law enforcement is working hard on this case, as I've said before, but it's very frustrating that they keep telling the public there's no possibility of foul play. And I feel like when you do that, you prevent people from coming forward. With that being said, I also want to put some cautions down, which I do very regularly on this channel, especially when we're dealing with these cases and we're dealing with, you know, law enforcement. You need to be cautious, okay? You need to be careful not to call in anything you do not have public knowledge of. So if you're not a firsthand knowledge person, if Aunt Millie down the road has the information you're telling to law enforcement, you need to be going to Aunt Millie and asking her to go to law enforcement. They do not need people calling and asking, did you think of sonar equipment? Did you think of helicopters? Did you think of drone? Trust me, this is their business. You know, that is one of the, when I talk to law enforcement or interview any type of law enforcement officers, that is the number one thing that they say really just drives them up a wall, because at this point, they've already been at roundtables. They've already been talking. They've got helicopters, horses, ATVs, anything that they can get in this area, they're deploying it. So don't be calling those things in. If you think that, you know, he could be over here, but you're not even in the area, you're not even there. You just heard it through the grapevine. Please Do not call that into law enforcement. Okay. That is not a legitimate tip. It's not a legitimate lead. We know you're trying to help, and we really do appreciate all the help. But we also, as a community, have to be responsible. And by being responsible, it's educating our audience. So I want to make sure that you guys understand, just because you hear it on social media, please do not be blowing up the phones. Just like the lady that's in here telling us information about the case. If you have legitimate information, I will always direct you to law enforcement. Okay. I will always direct you to law enforcement, and especially if it's outlandish stuff that nobody's hearing for the first time. If you have information, that's leading there, you need to be turning that over to law enforcement, not some YouTube channel. Sorry, law enforcement makes it so easy for people to stay anonymous and report a crime. So guess what? I'm going to refer to you to stay anonymous and report the crime. So that's where we're at with this. You see a mother that is absolutely broken. I know that everybody is going to always say, I don't know what channel is talking about, serial killers and stuff like that. It's not for me to tell them what they can and cannot talk about. But this is why I caution families that are going through this to stay off online. Make sure there's a spokesperson or somebody to review online, because it can be very hurtful. But people process information differently. They theorize a little bit differently. And when you have a situation like this, where you have such a small window of where this man could have disappeared from, and such a small radius of location of where this man could disappear from, and then you're saying you can't find him, naturally people are going to be looking for some avenues for information. And that's what we have here. I mean, this is day 12, and mom and dad and stepdad literally have not a scintilla of information. And while law enforcement, the good news is, and I'll tell you guys this, while law enforcement is looking at this as a missing person case, those officers are no missing person officers. Okay. Those detectives are very well versed in homicide investigations as well as cold cases. And so that means, to me, the good news is they're probably running a joint investigation at this moment. They probably have the missing person investigation going, and they probably have a file opened up. Oh, thank you, Rusty. God bless you. Thank you. If you received your gifted membership, please don't tell Rusty. Thank you. God bless you. So they're probably running a joint investigation, and I can hear what they're saying. They're when they found the information, they're bagging it up for further investigation. I am starting to believe, there is no evidence that a crime has been committed. We all know there's no evidence. A bank card is not evidence of anything. I mean, we are reasonable. We understand what law enforcement was saying there. But I'm glad to hear that they said it's the lack of evidence. It's not that they found anything that makes this an accident, or they have any information that leads them to believe that he's in the water. The problem is they have no information leading to believe that there is a crime committed. However, guys, I want you guys to be on the know of this article here. This is recent. This is in the Broadway area. This is, from what I can gather, around where he disappeared from. And there's an alleged thief known for targeting intoxicated people in downtown Nashville is now in custody. And while I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, I mean, it does happen on the 18th, which was just yesterday. So I wanted to read this article, not that it's related in any stretch of the imagination. However, it could be, because of the close proximity of time, the fact that he's targeting intoxicated people, the fact that we have an intoxicated man. Is there possible? I will tell you, I went through over all the footage that has been released to the public in the area that he went missing. I couldn't find anybody walking with him or walking next to him or following him or him looking like in fear. So I don't know who's saying that, but I'm not seeing seeing it. I don't see it in any of the videos either. But this article says the Metro Nashville Police Department, remember, that's the same police department that's investigating the Riley case, tracked down and arrested a man who has been allegedly lifting phones and credit cards from bar patrons in downtown Nashville. MNPD announced March 13th that they were looking into 32-year-old Joshua Cloyd, who had 9 outstanding warrants related to multiple thefts in the Nashville area. On November 4th, 2023, a man utilized his phone, had realized his phone had been taken while out on Broadway. The phone was used to transfer money to a Cash App account belonging to Cloyd, who then used those funds to purchase a room at the Wood Springs Suite in Madison. Later in January, another man's phone was stolen along with his credit cards from his rear pocket of his pants while on Broadway. He discovered the next morning that a withdrawal had been made at a gas station on Trinity Lane, and his phone was tracked to In-Town Suites, which is also in Madison, the affidavit stated. Cloyd was identified as the suspect through surveillance footage and his Cash App account. So we can see that there is some stuff that is going on in the Broadway area related to this. And this is not the only time or the first time we've heard of this. We have a lot of information. I also, I'm a little concerned about the amount of people that is being fished out of the Cumberland River. I have a little bit of a problem with that. If they're having this many people being introduced to water in and around there for a variety of reasons where, maybe alcohol is the culprit, then why aren't those railings brought up a little higher to prevent that? I mean, it is the responsibility of our government to make sure we're safe. So if you're realizing people are being introduced into water when they're drunk and intoxicated, and, I would say at no fault of their own, but they're drunk and intoxicated, so naturally it's their fault. But if you're noticing that they're falling over, then raise the railing. Make it difficult to go over. I mean, when I was looking at the railing in these steep patches, they came up to my knees. It looked like maybe they might have went past my knees. I'm short, I don't know. But very concerning. I'm glad we got to watch that. But I have to believe, even though I listen to their words and I never believe, a lot of the stuff, because I know they got the integrity of the investigation to worry about. So I try to read between the lines. Sometimes I'm wrong, but most of the time I'm right. But I think that I think once the Cajun Navy gets there, once they don't find him, it's going to be balls to the walls. This is going to be a full-fledged criminal investigation. I guarantee it. I mean, we're at day 12, and I know this is what's happening. Everybody's trying to tamper down stuff, because what happens when you start thinking that there's this stuff, it attracts the news, it attracts all these people in, it attracts people tracking all over their investigation. They're trying to prevent that as much as possible. They're trying to isolate people to work with one person, so they have control over where you're at, what to do, where they have you searching. It's all controlled by, you see what I'm saying? So they're doing things to reel this in because they don't want people looking, but they can't tell you that it's a criminal investigation and they're kicking the public out, because if they do that, then people will know it's a criminal investigation and we believe foul play when they keep telling us there's no foul play. Now, I'm not saying there is foul play. Again, this could be one of two things, and I've maintained this from the very beginning. If he is not in that water, if he is not right there, if he's down the river or something like that, that's understandable because he was introduced to the water. But if he's not in that water and he's not in that immediate area, I don't care how much law enforcement wants to come up here and make me believe that there's no foul play. I'm going to still believe there's foul play, and they can sit there and say, oh, social media's got it wrong. Social media's got it wrong. Well, then prove us wrong. Go find us him. You're saying he's right there, yet you're not producing him. Mom is absolutely distraught. I'm glad the Cajun Navy's in. Let's let them do their thing. Hopefully they do their thing well. God bless the girls that kind of helped direct this. I don't know. Law enforcement can say what they want to say about how they didn't search the area or do a ground search. And if they would have just taken the minimal time to even go down there to check, I mean, it doesn't even seem like they checked. That's my problem. And I am familiar when law enforcement get caught with their pants down or, feel like they're being embarrassed. And so I've watched them lie. I watched them stand up there on Gabby Petito and tell us that there was water up to here where Brian was. No, there wasn't. You moved that search all the way to the Carlton Reserve, a freaking swamp. So yes, over there, you had water up to here, but over on this side where we were at, where Brian Laundrie was at, you had ankle high water at best in some of these areas, ankle high water. But you know what? The public would never know because they had some officer come up. Well, we were up here. They would never let us on TV, right? They don't want us telling people you're full of shit. You just lied to the public, right? And they did. We were right there. You guys heard us erupt in the background saying justice for Gabby, justice for Gabby, justice for Gabby. Right there at that press conference whenever they found Brian Laundrie because they lied. They lied. So, you know what? I'm sorry. They can give us this word salad about how they were doing that. And you know what? I'm not going to criticize law enforcement. I don't know what they're doing. I'm not there. But I am also not going to lie to my audience and say that just because they say so doesn't make it so, because I've watched law enforcement lie slapped to my face, literally eyeball to eyeball, and lie to me. Like I expect it from politicians, but not law enforcement. And they will. They will. So, I don't know why the girls had to find that. I still think law enforcement should have found it. But hey, they want to say that they're looking for a person. They're just in a missing person and not really looking for any evidence to find the missing person, apparently, because I would think that would help locate where this missing person is if you just looked. But I digress. We pray for law enforcement. We pray for the investigators. We pray for the family. We're monitoring this case. We will continue to monitor this case for any twists and turns in this case. But right now, we're on day 12 with a boy that disappeared in a 6-minute window and a half a block radius. And for whatever reason, he can't be found. But don't worry, it's not foul play. That's what law enforcement tells us. So I don't know. We'll keep watching this. We'll see how this story turns out. But until next time, I want you guys to be safe. I want you guys to be kind. And just like that guy said from the Cajun Navy, if you see something, say something. And that's the mantra here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Y'all take care. God bless, and I'll see you soon.